From the very beginning, it seems as if time flows differently around the pyramids of Egypt. They stand in the silence of the desert, like the stone hands of a giant clock that shows not minutes, but millennia. Empires disappeared in their shadow, religions changed, wars took place, and new civilizations were born. But what if we try to look beyond, not hundreds, but thousands of years ahead? What if we imagine what the pyramids would look like if the world lived through another huge breath of history, from 2000 to 5100? This journey is not about how architecture is changing. This is a story about how the meaning of eternity itself is changing. In 2000, the Egyptian pyramids stood the same way they had for centuries before, breathing in the warmth of the sun, immersed in the sands of Giza, surrounded by the noise of tourist excursions and camera flashes. Their stones were dilapidated, the seams were thinned, and the surrounding desert was slowly but persistently trying to regain its lost spaces. Despite the efforts of archaeologists, the Pyramid of Cheops lost limestone microlayers every year. The world admired them as a miracle of antiquity, but at the same time feared whether they would be able to withstand the challenges of the new millennium. By 2100, the climate had changed the rules of the game. The heat increased, sandstorms became more regular, and humidity levels began to fluctuate in an unusual way. To save the pyramids, the first transparent barriers were developed, protective membranes invisible to the eye, covering the most vulnerable areas. These coatings did not change the appearance of the pyramids, but they became a shield against winds, microerosion, and temperature fluctuations. Tourism has also changed. Instead of endless queues, autonomous observation platforms have appeared, moving along certain routes around the complex. People could no longer touch the ancient stones, but they saw the pyramids closer than ever. The year 2200 marked the beginning of the smart stone era. New technologies made it possible to create microstructures embedded in the surface of the blocks that repaired damage. The stones seemed to become alive again. The pyramids did not just retain their former appearance. For the first time, they began to stably resist time. Scientists have launched nanostructures with programs capable of adapting to the future. The symbol of antiquity has become a part of the supermodern world, without losing its granite or meaning. The year 2300 brought world-class digital visualization. Holographic levels of reconstruction appeared above the complex. A tourist could see the pyramids as they looked at Cheops, Khafre, or Menkaure. People watched as the facing plates changed, as the polished limestone shone, as the morning haze of the ancient Nile rose above the plateau. But most importantly, the virtual layers made it possible to understand the structure of the pyramids from the inside, showing hidden corridors, burial chambers, mysterious voids discovered by scanning. By 2500, the desert tried to regain its possessions again. Sand dunes have approached the bases of the pyramids, creating a threat of collapse. To preserve the complex, engineers have implemented a system of underground stabilizers, gravity modules that distribute pressure and keep sand at a distance. Inside the pyramids, microsensors monitored vibrations and transmitted the data to a single monitoring center. The pyramids have become the most protected historical site on Earth, but they have not lost an ounce of their ancient simplicity. By the year 2700, a new wave of technology had arrived: climate domes. A transparent shell was raised over Giza, creating a mild, stable microclimate, protected from storms and extreme heat. The dome was almost invisible, only occasionally refracting sunlight. Inside the dome, the desert plants began to grow faster. Where there used to be barren sands, oases have appeared, green, living, breathing. For the first time, the pyramids were surrounded by nature, which they had never known. The year 3000 marked a new era, the era of soaring observations. Gravity capsules have appeared in the sky over Giza, allowing you to see the pyramids from any angle without helicopters, noise, and air currents. People hovered almost motionless right above the top of Cheops, looking at millimeter-sized cracks, perfectly smooth lines of faces, and geometry that amazed even after 3,000 years. It was a new look at one of the oldest mysteries in the world. In 3300, the pyramids became the foundation of a new cultural zone on Earth. Cities grew up nearby, built in harmony with the desert. The architects were inspired by the geometry of the pyramids, strict lines, stability, orientation by the stars. The pyramids were no longer an isolated monument of the past. They became the center of future civilizational ideas. Glowing energy channels underground provided the complex with clean energy, and at night the pyramids were illuminated with a soft golden glow. The year 3600 turned them into a part of the global archive system of mankind. Inside the chambers where the pharaohs were once buried, secure databanks were now stored, billions of terabytes of information about the Earth's past. The pyramids, created for eternity, have received a new function: to preserve the memory of civilization so that no cataclysm can destroy knowledge. For this purpose, the stone blocks were reinforced with super-dense materials capable of withstanding extreme conditions. By the year 4000, the Earth had experienced a series of extreme climatic changes. Deserts have expanded, temperatures have risen, and winds have become destructive. The pyramids, thanks to the dome, survived everything. The dome has become denser and more powerful, but it is still almost invisible. Tourists now walked along the indoor routes under the dome, where the ideal temperature and soft light, reminiscent of early morning, were always maintained. The year 4500 was a year of great transformation. Levitation stabilizers, technologies that partially unload the weight of the structure, began to be integrated under the pyramids. Due to this, the pressure on the lower blocks was halved, preserving the shape of the pyramids almost in its original form. It was an epochal decision. For the first time in history, the pyramids actually stopped collapsing. By 4800, the pyramids had become the center of a new astronomical complex. Transparent observatories hung above them, which synchronized with the orientation of the pyramids to the stars. People observed galaxies using ancient architecture as a reference point. The pyramids have once again become what they were in ancient times, a portal connecting man with the stars. And now the year is 5100. The pyramids of Egypt have become not an ancient monument, but a living, shining part of the planet's future. Their surface is translucent, saturated with self-healing structures. They glow softly at night, reflecting the dome's space, and during the day they absorb solar energy, which they use to preserve their own condition. There are green fields, silvery plants, transparent platforms floating above the sand. The pyramids have survived everything: civilizations, climate, technologies. They stayed, because even after 5,000 years, their meaning has not changed. These are not just rocks. This is the language of eternity, which humanity continues to speak.